right, welcome to another wonderful week and a wonderful episode of Whatever by Hektek by yours truly. So this week, nothing spectacular happened. Um, remember, it's actually going to be tomorrow. So by the time this airs, I'll finish the class. But tomorrow, I'm doing my videography class. First of many. I've decided to do more than just this one because a lot of people just couldn't do it. Couldn't make this one. So I'm gonna make it available for them as well. Remember, if you like and you know everything I got going on, go ahead and subscribe to HD Nation on YouTube. You'll find this one and Beyond Pixels as well. And then this is the last month. A couple more episodes before we hit the finale. Then I'm taking a little break. I got other projects to dive into and get this money up. So remember HD Nation, it's right there on the screen. Um, That's the videography class for tomorrow for all those that care. And yeah, we're going to get stuff popping. So I'm joined by a guest that's been on actually very recently. He decided he wanted to come back, and I enjoyed that. So we're going to bring him on. What's going on?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome back. Our Bucks won again.
Wow, I tell you what, and it they have you at the edge of your seat every single game. It,
Yeah, yeah,
it is wow. It's for so many years it was just horrifying being a Buccaneers fan, and I was born and raised in Tampa, so it's just by default that's who I have, and
right.
Uh, but man, this year they're 4-1 now, and they're just like it's Baker Mayfield pulling it out at the end every single game. And
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be able to do that every single week, but my
No.
God, is it exciting? Just
Yeah. So, what do you think about our special teams? Because our special teams for the past 4 weeks have definitely been struggling.
yeah,
This is the most punt return blocks I've ever seen. Um, Yet we're setting records. We had a 65 yarder last week.
two weeks ago, I think. I think that's
Yeah,
what.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
65-yard field goal is crazy.
yeah. Um, they're they're really weak on kickoff coverage. It's like starting positions like 40-yard line. Uh, they always seem to get past the first line and into the second line. When your kicker has to be involved in making tackles, you're doing something wrong. So,
Right.
but yeah,
I
that's
think me personally, if I was a kicker, I would probably fake so they could run into me, so I get
not
that
everybody can
penalty
be.
and keep it moving.
Yeah,
Right.
not everybody can be Pat McAfee. That's for sure.
Right, right. So if it was you, who do you think anyone needs to be fired, or you just think there needs to be some adjustments?
You know, I'm not a big fan of Todd Bowles. He is a great defensive coach. He really is. But I just think if we had a maybe a little bit more of an offensive minded coach, and you could put Todd just strictly worrying about the defense. Uh, I don't know. I think it'd be better off. But we're winning, so I like a coach with passion. You know,
Right.
maybe not John Gruden passion, but I like a coach with passion. And
Right.
Todd
Yeah.
Bowles is like a statue standing on the sideline, man. So
No, I mean, to where it's something exciting, something electrifying when you see Baker Mayfield not only get the yardage that he's getting rushing wise, but also passing, and then getting to the defense's face and talking as much crap as humanly possible and be able to back it up. Like that is something. That is definitely something. But yeah, we need to stop a lot of these close games because it's just getting too close. Like they're starting to give me anxiety now at this point. And most of our starters are unfortunately injured, which is even more pain to injury. But yet, like you said, we're still winning. So that's
Still winning.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the offensive line is out. Our starting running backs out. Our best wide receivers out. We got 3 starters missing on defense. Yet they keep finding ways to win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's to the motivation of Baker Mayfield. I always say, and I often say, when you have a very strong leader, those will follow you to the depths of hell. You know what I mean? So he's definitely doing what most quarterbacks, even in this season, is not able to do, and just he's sparking that fire, and he's bringing it home. So we'll see. We have a couple more weeks of questionable 50-50 chances. We have some clear wins that we should win. But we'll see. But with that, we're gonna get this show started.
let's do it.
You know, it's whatever, baby. You know, it's whatever, baby. You know, it's whatever.
All right. So, for those who don't know who Peter Fitzwell is, aka Lucky Stepdad, go ahead and tell them who you are, what you do, and your journey into this world of adult entertainment.
Well, like I said, I'm Peter Fitzwell. Been in the adult film industry for about 5 years. Uh, kind of came in through the swinging. Being a swinger for as many years as I have. Uh, then just kind of started doing some OnlyFans stuff, and then Brazzers reached out to my wife, wanted her to shoot for them, and they kind of got a 2-for-1 deal on that. And
Right.
so, and both of us are still working in the industry, um, and really have developed our own personas and our own little niches in it. And it's challenging. It's so much more challenging than just, oh, you get to bang hot girls. It is so much more than that. It really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. No, people, I'm sure you get hit up. I definitely get hit up by dudes that think they have what it takes to be in this industry, and the first thing they be like, oh, I want to bang such and such, and I'm like, listen, me too, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
um it's not, and I mean, we talked about it in the other episode with you and Naomi. When you have to get in those weird, awkward positions, when you have to stop and go, the camera battery is dying, so everyone has to, whatever the case may be, and still be able to perform on cue, pop on cue, do all that. It's not, oh, let me rent out the dungeons of dungy hotels and let me show you what I got. Like, that is so far in between, and it can be very, very unforgiving. Can you speak to the light of that?
Oh no, for sure. Like, look, when you come onto a set for maybe the first time, obviously you're going to be very nervous. Very very few guys walk in just with okay. I think they all walk in with a lot of confidence, but then when they really truly realize that it's just not you, a girl, and a camera sitting in the corner, and you just get to go at it. It's 4 to 6 hours being on set at start and stop constantly. and you're told, how to do it, where to do it, when to do it, and if you think that you're going to do it the same way that you've been doing it for all the years in private, it's not. It's not at all like that. You have to open up to the camera. You got to turn your body in positions that that aren't necessarily conducive to feeling good, per
Right.
se, but they look good, and that's the important part of this. You're not here, for your own enjoyment. You're here for the fans' enjoyment, and the director's going to tell you how to pull that off accordingly. And more than likely, that doesn't align with exactly the way you want to do it. So
Right.
they learn very quickly that that it's not about you. It's about, first and foremost, getting what the director knows he needs.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to pay attention. You got to be able to, uh, you know, temper your excitement until the right time. And not everybody can do that. So, and
No.
it's definitely it's both, it's challenging physically, but it's definitely, challenging mentally. So,
Right. Right.
'cause
No,
you
I had some situations where, because I'm so worried about not popping too quickly, and let's be honest, for yous that don't know, real time and porn time are two different things. What may seem like 25 minutes, it's only been 5. Like, but what seems like 5 minutes actually been 40. So it's a weird dynamic, right? I guess it just depends how much fun you're having.
And that was funny
And
happened when what position you're in, because there are times when the director would be like, "Okay, can you lift her up and just bounce her up and down on you?" And you're like, "For about 37 seconds, I can do that."
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, probably, I mean, if you play that in a loop for 5 minutes, I'm sure you could get that amount of time. But so they're gonna work with you, as much as they can. But at the end of the day, they want their shot, and they may have a couple backups, but the more you can deliver what they're looking for when you're looking for it, the more you're gonna be on the top of their list as to who they feel like they can rely on to call. So
No, absolutely. And what, besides the sex, right? Besides the performance, what's another element to having those callbacks?
the way you treat the girls on set, really. I- if the girl is like, if you're creepy with the girl, if you're trying to, hey, what are you doing afterwards? I mean, look, this isn't plenty of fish here. You're here to do work, and and you're not here to date these girls. You're here to work, and that's it. So you're not pushing up on the girls constantly. You're not making them uncomfortable, because once you get enough girls putting you on their no list, and it's not them, it's you. So, and yeah, and just being easy to work with. When a director asks you to do something, if you maybe you don't feel like you could do it in some way or somehow, but offer and come up with some other way to get it done, in some other way. You can't expect the adult film industry to conform to how you do things. You're going to have to figure out how to do things the way the adult film industry does it. And if that means everybody has their own little way that it's easier for them to pop, and stuff like that. But you're gonna have to figure it out. You're gonna figure it out. So
Right. What's probably been the biggest lessons you've learned since being in?
uh, I guess don't expect. Man, it's hard for me to say this. Don't expect perfection every single time. And that's really difficult for me to say that because that's exactly what I expect out of myself. Like I expect perfection in every shoot. That's what I'm striving for. That's what I'm shooting for. The times when I am not able to achieve it, which are then don't get so down on myself because I really, 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 if I, I want to figure out why, what went on, what happened, what was the reason why I didn't nail it like I thought I should, and let's change that. Sometimes you just have off days, and it's like that way with everything. The only difference is when you do it as an adult performer, everybody on set's going to know it. It's not like you can hide it in paperwork or something like that.
Right.
Everybody's going to
Right.
know it, and these are the people that decide whether you get hired again or not. So,
Right. No, it's tough, man. It's really, really, really tough. And it's tougher. I don't want to say it's tougher on the men, right? It's tougher for us physically because of having to show that we're aroused,
right,
having to show that we're into the scene, having to give the final finish, as you could say. You know what I mean?
yep,
Yeah, there's tricks and there's things that we as producers, directors, cameramen, we know how to make something, even the most horrible of scenes, look not like that. Um but yeah, if we could not do that all the time, if we could, from action to stop, be like, yo, have, and maybe you have, I don't know. Have you ever shot a scene that after the scene, you, the co-star, the producer, the director, the cameraman, the makeup artist, the whole staff is just like almost like a standing fucking ovation. Like,
yeah,
oh my God, this shit was fire.
yeah, for sure. I one of the one of the biggest compliments that I get. I was shooting for My Pervy Family, and the producer for Bang Bros, Jacob, was actually shooting the scene for them because he had an off day, and they asked if he would shoot it. He's definitely top tier directors down in Miami,
Mhm.
for sure. Has taught a lot of the directors out. He's been doing it for 27 years. He taught a lot of other directors that are currently working in Miami how to shoot. So
Mhm.
he's definitely an OG down there for sure. But I shot a it was an Easter scene last year with Leanna Lovings, and when the whole thing was done, he sat back with me. He goes, "Damn, I wish this was my scene." So he thought so much of it that he wished that he'd had it on his site because he saw it
Mhm.
and he recognized that, man, you guys killed it. And he was just a huge part of that as well. With the direction and everything that he gave us, and yeah, she's so easy to work with and awesome.
Yeah. No, and I mean we spoke to it, on the earlier episode as well. When there's chemistry, when both co-stars are clicking, when the stars are aligned, as you may say, it makes it for an easy. That's when like this industry is fun, right?
Yeah,
But when you walk into a room and you already feel that tense pressure, and you already may or may not be dealing with a diva, whether it's the producer, director, or co-star. Some days you're like, oh, all right, well, let me get my head in the game and let me focus. Those are the hardest. Those are
no,
some of
for
the
sure.
hardest.
They're definitely the hardest days, and they seem like they just go on forever. All the scenes are going to take 3 to 5 hours for sure. Um,
So say
but
that again, because we have so many people that think that it's literally an hour in and out.
oh no, no, definitely not. I mean, first of all, you got to think. You got to start with all your paperwork. You got to find all these. You got to fill out all these release forms and model consent forms and things like that. Then they're going to want to do a little or a pre video interview with you, and that's basically just to prove that you're lucid, that you're of age, that you are who you say you are, and that you are of sound mind and body to be able to do an adult film like this, and you know it's going to be disseminated out to the world, basically. Um, so that way you can't come back and go, oh no, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't realize that was that's what was going on here. So yeah, you did. Um, and then you got to go, then they go through all the girls' outfits. They look for all their, the clothes that they have, and they pick some outfits out, and they have the girls try them on. They take a bunch of pictures. They send them off to the producer, and the producer is going to look at them and go, okay, yeah, this shirt does, that skirt. And then they take the girl off. They do a bunch of pictures with her. Then they sit down and have like a pre-production meeting where we talk about the scene. Here's what we're going to do. Do you have any do's or don'ts, that you don't want to happen? Do you have any do's or don'ts that you don't want to have happen? Where are your limits? Where are your boundaries? And then after that, then they get into shooting the B-roll or the acting, part of it. And by the time you get to the actual sex part of the video, you're already 3 hours that you've been there. So, and you haven't had there's zero sex, at that point. So, the hour of sex, that you have, and they cut a bunch of that out. So you wind up with a 32-minute video that literally took us 5 hours to shoot. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, even when I hire models, they'd be like, "Oh, well, how long should I be here?" Me, I'm pretty efficient. You've been around me enough.
yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe an hour, hour and a half, in and out paperwork, blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, well, I'm mainstreaming. I charge so much by the hour. And I'm like, first of all, I've been around long enough and I know most mainstream sets, like you said, 4 to 5 hours is probably a good minimum.
Yeah.
Eight to
That's not
12.
a top ad scene. If you're doing a top ad scene for Brazzers or for Team Skeet or something like that, you're going to be there for 8, maybe 10 hours
Correct.
for the
I
same
had a
rate, by the
homegirl.
way.
Correct. I had a homegirl. She was gone half the day, and I was like, "Well, how much did you shoot?" And she's like, "Most of it was me looking at other people, either A, get their makeup put on, or B, doing their part of the scene, or dialogue, or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy." But yeah, what's a big misconception that you would say most people have about this industry?
Um,
Even
I
you can even talk about some of the misconceptions you had personally.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about the industry is that people who work in adult films are dirty, or that
Mm.
we're disease ridden or something crazy like that. And in all honesty, in all reality, nothing could be further from the truth. Uh, think about your average girl or guy that you may find in a nightclub or a library, wherever you go to meet people,
The
and
library. That's crazy.
wherever, and you start talking to them, and then maybe it slowly works into a romantic relationship or like that. There's a good chance that that person has not been tested. And hopefully, you talk about this before you guys actually start engaging in unprotected sex. But there's a good chance that that person has not been tested, for any STIs or anything like that for years, if ever, or at least extended periods, of time. So you don't really know. People in the adult film industry were tested every 14 days. So if you pop for anything, you don't work. You don't work until you get it cleared up. And that's just how it is. So in reality, you're much safer if you ever have an opportunity to be with somebody in the adult film industry than you are just to pick up some random person at a bar. You're much safer. But yeah, people will look at it the opposite way because you guys have so much unprotected sex. You're like, yeah, but we're doing it with people who are tested and who have been tested within 14 days. And it's every 14 days. And I'm not kidding. I spent $7,000 last year between me and my wife testing just strictly for STDs to be able to work. So
Yeah. No, trust me. It's back to that misconception. talk to a few women romantically at times, and I'd be like, okay, like they as soon as you tell them what they do, it's almost like ill, and I'm like, oh, why? And they'd be like, well, because all these bodies that you're catching, and the chances of this and this and this. I'm like, okay, cool. When's the last time you got tested?
Yep.
And bro, some of the length of time that I've heard is fucking insanity. I've heard 6 months, 3 months, a year. Oh, when I go get my normal pap smear or whatever, then that's when I get
What's a
tested.
year?
I'm like, that's a year. How many people do you think you've slept with in that year? Now, and this is where the math gets tricky, right? Because it's not just based on the people that you slept with, how
They,
many people they've slept with.
yes.
To the point where, especially when I first started in the industry, I stopped doing like recreational sex. It was like, well, I was also a little bit more business minded. I'm like, shit. If I pop and the scene's hot with this girl, but I ain't film it, that's money I could be making. Like it was a whole weird thing. I'm not like that anymore. Thank God. It
Yeah.
was it was it was a problem.
Yeah.
But
When you
yeah, that
monetize it.
misconception, I think that's one of the ones that anger me probably the most when I hear it. Now, because there's a difference between someone who is curious and someone who's judgmental, right? Someone who's curious is like, okay, well, you sleep with a lot of people, blah, blah, blah. Tell me the procedures. And then sometimes when you tell people the procedures, they're like, and then hold up, not even tell people the procedures, but just like you did, you said how much money you spent on it. Yeah, our tests are not cheap.
No, no, they're testing for a lot. I mean, they really are. They test. How many of you out there that even know what MGen is? You know, it's a bacterial infection that guys and girls can have, and it typically only really in the long term, it's like HPV kind of to a degree, affects younger girls. And so that's who we're protecting whenever we get tested for this. When they mandated that about 2 years ago in the adult film industry, I think, and not only the adult film industry, but for the content creators also, everybody started testing for it. And I think 90% of the people pop for it, right at
Yeah,
first. Right.
immediately. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
it was. So, and if it was that, prolific in, just, for people who get tested all the time, what is that for people out there, in the vanilla world that never tested for it before? They haven't. A vast majority of them do. They don't even know it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's not like what you call the big ones,
right.
but yeah, it's there.
It's there.
Um,
It's still something that we that the adult film industry tests for, but
yeah,
a lot
regular.
of people don't. So we're, like I
Yeah.
said, I go back
Even
to my
even
original
your
statement. We're
even
cleaner.
your normal doctor be like, MGen,
Yeah.
why
So
y'all tested? Like, yeah, they'd be like, why you tested for that? That's crazy, But yeah. What's something that you look for when you're working or when you're working with a new talent? What's some of the qualities that you look for?
new talent, I think, is one of the biggest things. How relaxed they are. Um,
Okay.
if you're relaxed, you're going to give a good performance, or at least the way if you appear relaxed. Um, and for a lot of people, the acting is the hard part. And they a lot of people
Jesus.
get into the industry because they enjoy sex and they're okay with sex. So but not a lot of them have done acting before. So now listen, we're not trying to win Golden Globes here. It's not like we're these outstanding stellar actors or anything. But you
Right.
still want to put on as at least as much of a a convincing performance that you can. So I try to take a lot of pride in my acting, and then I know there's a lot of other ones that I work with. You can tell that too. So, but the only way you're going to be able to do that is to be relaxed. So just take some deep breaths and and just relax and listen, and and really ask questions. I asked a lot of questions when I first started. If I didn't understand it, if, for whatever reason, it didn't matter what it was. If it was, uh, they were going to move a light somewhere over 3 feet, while they were doing it, I asked the director, why are you doing that? What? And the vast majority of them, when they see you're interested in learning, they're really descriptive and they're really good.
Yeah.
But and that goes the same with the girls too. If the girls are asking, why are we doing this? They'll be more than happy to tell you. And you're going to learn that much more, and you're going to be that much better. So
No, I think, especially, you see me with my rig and stuff, and people are like, okay, why are you doing this? And then I get into my whole nerd space. I'm like, well, because of that. You know what I mean? It's, especially when you do something, especially for me, it's like a threefold. There's the photography, the videography, and then the content. So I have three different layers at least of stuff that I'm like really interested in. So that when someone's asked me about the camera, I'm like, yeah, boom, 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 boom. You know, uh, I noticed that too, like when you look at someone and you could tell how relaxed they are. You could tell, okay, you kind of I understand that you're nervous. And when I tell them, I've been in the industry for so many years and I still get nervous. It's natural. It's not the nerves, it's how you handle it. Because now,
yeah, for sure,
if you are so nervous, we can't get through anything, much less the sex, then it's like, that's a problem, you know?
most definitely.
And go back to your whole acting thing. That's why I have a problem with a lot of these terms, right? That are being thrown around willy nilly. I'm a porn star. I'm a mainstream. I'm this. I'm that. And then when I give you a little bit of, hey, this is what I need from you, you totally shit the bed.
Yeah, I hear the moniker porn star to me is. I don't even call myself a porn star. I've done 400 scenes, and I still don't call myself a porn star. I work in adult films.
Mhm.
To me, being a star is Johnny Sins, is Kieran Lee. Those guys are stars. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I just work here, and
Mhm.
I just do the best job that I can. So whenever I hear OnlyFans girls tell people that they're porn stars, um, I don't say anything out loud, but inside
Right, right,
it makes me laugh. It makes me giggle. You
right.
know? So and this is the thing that and I want the people to comment below. When you watch this video, comment and to this question: what do you think constitutes a porn star? What do you have to achieve in order to get to that level? And what is it? And every time I ask that question, even from people in the industry, I get a different answer. Everybody has a different answer as to what they feel like makes that you can earn that moniker. So
What do you and I'll give you my little take on it. I like that you posed that question because I would like to try to answer it. But what is it for you?
I think if you are if you work consistently, if
Um,
if the industry knows who you are, I've never shot out in California, but some of the girls from AMA modeling, where I'm represented at, go out to California, and they've had some directors out there ask about me. So and I was like, wow, they know who I am out there. I have get recognized in public. Usually people just smile and, will point or something like that. And then people come up and talk, which I'm more than happy to talk about. I'm more than happy to talk. So consist if you're around this industry on a consistent basis, then I think that you've earned that moniker, or it's certainly if you get nominated for awards, you don't have to win an award because that's all you know a dog and pony show anyway. Uh, but so yeah, it's being not doing 3 scenes and never doing any more after that, but maybe doing 3 years or something, then you could earn that moniker. So
Yeah. So for me, it's more of case in point. When you go to England and you see the royal family, they don't have to scream that they're the royal family.
right.
You could see that they're the royal family. I think that's one of the biggest parts. And I feel like that's one of the biggest parts that's missing in that moniker of porn star. There's no more of the elegance. There's no more of the class. There's no more of the allure. There's no more of the like, oh my, hey, that's her. You know what I mean? Or that's him. You know, it's almost like matter of fact. Even the fans. A lot of the fans now approach the people matter of factly because they put everything on social media. Because remember, too, there was a time that social media really wasn't a thing for our industry.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, now we have everyone doing dances and skits and all these other things that don't pertain to the industry itself, which is fine. I understand branching out into different markets and stuff like that. But I also feel like we can't just walk in New York and walk up to Jay-Z and be like, "Hey, Jay-Z, let's have dinner." You know what I mean? There's a level of separation. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that separation. And I'm not meaning we are not approachable. That's not what I mean. I think we're too easily accessible now.
And there's so many of us, and you
Yeah.
think about it in the 80s or even into the early 90s and stuff. You had probably 15 guys in the industry total, and
Mhm.
maybe 100 girls. And I was like, now there's 100 guys and 1,000 girls in the industry, and they're not doing feature films anymore, like they used to. Now they're doing, 32-minute videos. So and they're churning them out every single day. They're every day there's there's 50 videos being made in the United States, by different companies. So and there's so many more people in the industry now than there used to be.
You're right. No, 100%. And with that, we're going to take a little break.
Are you the smartest dummy or the most dense genius in your friend group? Yeah, us too. That's why you'll fit right in with the Enlightened Idiot podcast, live every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. We're talking bold takes on sex, mental health, current events, and all the stuff you forget you care about until somebody says it out loud. So slide through, kick back, and get your dose of real talk and reckless wisdom. Stay enlightened.
All right, yeah. So if you don't know, now you know. I am also part of another podcast called The Enlightened Idiots. Last night, we had a doozy of an episode. So go and check that one out. Y'all might hate me after that one. No, but we were just talking about the dating pool and from men perspective, and it was I enjoyed it. A lot of the women viewers, they're gonna have their own episode. I'll let y'all know. I'll let the cat out of the bag. The women are gonna run their own episode, and none of the men are gonna be on there. So we'll see. So speaking of dating, I know you and Naomi been married for a long time. How was that? Like, how was? I know you already spoke about how getting into the industry and stuff like that worked for you, but how was it meeting her and then now where y'all are at?
I was married before, in the late
Mhm.
'90s or early 2000s, and I got divorced. And I kind of feel like the girl I was married was more in love with the idea of being married than who she married. And, and it just didn't work out. Then I was happily unmarried for 18 years, just doing my own thing, whatever I wanted to do, dated a lot of girls, uh, live with a few, and just, you know, really with no intention of ever getting married again. Uh, and then I met her, and then I met Naomi, and just like we actually ran into each other physically, and she literally just took my breath away. I was just like, God, this might be the hottest girl I've ever seen in my life. And and I had no idea. I'm not that guy who's ever going to. I will not be laying in my deathbed going, man, I wish I would have. I don't. I go for everything, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. Is it when it I could move on after that, knowing, hey, I tried and I gave it my best shot, and it didn't work out. I got no regrets, no regrets at all.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I had no idea that things were going to develop the way they did, with us. And it took a year and a half, really, from the time I met her to the time we actually started dating. And I remember talking to my mom after like 3 months, or we had dated. I never really talked to my mom and my dad about girls that I dated and stuff because sometimes they didn't stick around very long, and I didn't want them to get attached to somebody who wasn't going to be there. So
Right.
after about 3 months of her and I, bouncing back and forth between Miami and Tampa, and and because that's where she lived down in Miami and I lived in Tampa, and every single weekend I was down there or she was up here with me. And after about 3 months, I was talking to on my, I think I stopped by my mom's house because I had to fix something in her house or whatever, and we were just casually talking, and and I go, Mom, I think I have somebody you're gonna have to meet real soon here. And she goes, oh, really? Because I didn't say that very often to her. So when I did, and I go, I think this one might get me. And she was like, where's she at? You gotta bring her over here now. Because,
Yeah.
because I think that they thought that I was, some people had that idea. If you're not married, you can't possibly be happy. Well, that definitely wasn't the case. I was happy. But and here's a little story that we didn't share, that I had a friend after 5 months of us dating. I had introduced her to my mom, and my dad lives in, like off the grid up in the mountains. So I don't think I had she had met her yet, or he had met her yet. But I had a friend of mine die. Medical malpractice. He died on the operating table. But I talked to him a lot about being in the lifestyle, and he had a lot of regrets. He had a lot of regrets in his life, and he died with those. And I remember being at his funeral that day, and I took Naomi with me because she was here visiting me in Tampa. I went to the funeral, and then that night I'm laying there in bed, and I can't sleep. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. She's asleep, and I'm just laying there, and I'm just thinking about my buddy, and it was really it was bothering me. And I thought to myself, I was like, he died with so many regrets in his life, the way he treated his wife. And he talked to me about these things. He wanted to, get in better shape and go and be in a lifestyle. So that way, he could do what he was doing, do it, but do it the right way. And once but he never got a chance to do that, because he, like I say, he died on the table. And with dying with all those regrets, I'm like, man, I just can't imagine what that would be like. And I thought to myself, if I died tonight in my sleep, what would I regret? What is there anything out there that I could change? And the literally only thing I could come up with was I didn't marry Naomi. And that was literally the only thing in my life that I'm like, I want to do this, and I would regret not doing it if I died. So, so I'm on the verge of breaking down, and crying because it was really emotional for me. And I looked over at her, and she was just asleep, like usual. And I just shook her just a little bit, and I go, I don't want to wait. And she wakes up. She's like, what? And I'm like, I don't want to wait. She goes, you don't want to wait for what? And I go, listen, I was in my head, I want to wait like a couple of years, just to make sure that we are who we think we are, and then I was going to ask you to marry me, but I already know. I already know that you're the one I want to be with. So I said, so, we're getting married. Make plans. We're going to get married. And she was like, what? What? And I go,
So
yeah.
you didn't even wait for a yes. You
I
just like,
didn't wait
yo,
for
we're
yes.
doing this.
I
Yeah.
told her we were getting married.
Yeah.
And she goes, is this about Frank? And I go, this is not really just about Frank, but he has a little bit to do with this, yeah. And she goes, maybe we should talk about that in the morning. I go, okay, that's fine. We can do that. But I'm going to say the same thing in the morning. I'm going to say the same thing, a week from now. And I'm going to say the same thing a year from now. I know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I already know that. So let's make that happen. And about 5 months later, we got married. And it has
Oh
been
wow.
just so absolutely amazing. It's been that was 7 years ago, a little 7.5 years ago. And I would do it again. I would do it again today. If because she's just I've never met anybody like her.
So because y'all are married and y'all are in the lifestyle and also in porn, talk to the jealousy factor that most men will feel when they watch their significant others be with other people or something like that. Because when we think of poly and we think of the lifestyle, we think of the adult industry, when I tell people I'm okay with my partner doing X, Y, and Z, and they look at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I have way more other things to be worried about versus this. You know what I mean? Kind of deal. So speak to that aspect of it.
Well, it all starts with who are you trying to make happy in life? Are you trying to make yourself happy? Are you trying to make your partner happy? Or are you trying to make society happy? Because if you care so much about what everybody else thinks about you, then you're living your life for everybody else and not yourself. So you're never going to be happy. Um, I don't. So I don't. I'm a good person. I treat people good. I will stop and talk to every single person that wants to talk to me. Uh, and I treat everybody good. I don't do people wrong. I just don't. Or if by some chance that I do, I want to talk about it afterwards. I want to apologize. I want to make things right. Because I'm just not that person who, you know, I did joke about that's why I'll never be like a multi-millionaire, because a lot of those business guys are just ruthless. I'm just not like
Yeah.
that. It's just not how I am.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I also don't live my life the way society tells me that I need to live my life. And that's the first thing that you gotta get away from. That's the first thing that you gotta get that out of your head, that you're gonna you know do all the things that society has told you that you have to do your whole life. That's like saying it's a one size fits all type thing. No, that's not the case. Um, if that was the case, then it would 63% of the men out there would be cheating on wives and girlfriends at some point in some time. We're not meant to be monogamous. We're told we should be, but in reality, that's not. And some people are. Some people I've got some good friends of mine, that are vanilla, that I worked with for years, that are monogamous and have absolutely no problem being that way whatsoever with their significant other. And I feel really, I'm not really jealous. I'm happy for them that is where they have, that's what they have in their life. That's great, because that's something that I can't do. But you have to be able to have compersion, for your partner, and finding happiness in their happiness. And if you're going to be with somebody else, then they should be able to be with somebody else too. but that all comes through a lot of trust and a lot of communication. If you're feeling, anxious or anxiety about something, talk about it. It's always the reason that so many people can't talk with their partners is because for fear of reprisal. If I tell my partner something that they don't want to hear, they blow up at me and get mad at me. What you're doing is you're training that person not to be open and honest with you. And that's what all relationships are based on is being honest and being open. And if I yell at you for being that way with me, all I'm teaching you is just keep things from me and hide things from me. And that's not the relationship that I want. So if Naomi comes to me and tells me something that maybe she knows that I'm not going to want to hear, I take a deep breath and we have a constructive conversation about it instead of having a destructive argument. And that's hard to do because you have emotions and stuff. But if you could always have that good positive conversation and not argument, you'll be able to work through anything. And then your partner will be able to assure you, hey, look, I had a good time with that person, but you're the one that I love. It's no different than borrowing somebody else's car for that matter. We have a friend, we just visited him the other week. They have a Ferrari, and I got to be with that man's Ferrari, and, and it was epic. But you know what? I don't want to put gas in that thing. I don't want to
Right,
pay the
right,
insurance on it. I don't want to have to pay to tune it up. But I
right,
still got to drive it. so,
right.
so
No,
and
because I've told people, even for me, I've shot people I was dating, and da da da, and they were like, "You ain't feel no way." I'm like, "Yeah, for like a split second, but it's not like it's weird. It's not like a oh my god moment. It's like damn." And then like if you're really with that partner and it's like y'all have y'all private time after the shoot, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm really concerned about nothing." You know what I mean?
that's
At
what
the end of the day.
that reconnection whether you're just do it through communication or whether you're having sex with your partner afterwards is just the hottest thing. It really is because now you know you're coming back together. You have that connection after you've had your experiences, whether they were there in the room with you or not. Uh, you know,
Mhm.
now you're back to being with your partner. You're back to being with something that's so comfortable, that's so fulfilling, for you. And to me that's some of the best sex we ever have is that reconnection sex, either later on that day or the next day or and because it's almost like we're thanking each other for allowing each other to have those experiences. So,
Mhm. Okay. Uh, what do you prefer, professional studios or independent?
I
And maybe you prefer both of them, but
do.
explain why.
I do. Um, I like the professional studios because I learned so much on those sets. I really do. Like I said, I'm a person who asks a lot of questions. So if there's something that I'm not recognizing or something that I'm not seeing or something that they're doing different or something that I don't understand, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask about that. Because everybody has their thing like this. These directors shoot every single day. Uh, I don't work every single day, so you got a lot more experience being on set than I do. And they've been doing it for years. So yeah, if there's something that I can learn, or even afterwards, if I don't feel like I really did the job that I really feel like I could do, it's rare, but occasionally I'm just on autopilot. And I'll ask them, I'll talk to them about it afterwards. Hey, what can I do? What can I do better? What can I do different? And I'm always looking for I take constructive criticism very well. And, that's how I learn so quickly, in the industry, being very observant and asking a lot of questions. So on pro sets, I learned so much. On a little independent set, or like when I'm doing a collab or something like that, I can relax a little bit more, come up with my own fun little storylines, instead. Uh, it doesn't have to be quite as regimented, and it gets to be a little bit more organic. And I think the fans like that. You know, they like that big production stuff, but they also like the amateuristic style, as well.
Rawness.
Yeah. So I love to do both, really.
Okay. Um, how do you feel like the the time of social media has changed the adult industry? Do you feel it's like helped, or do you feel like it's hurt? Do you feel it's indifferent? Do you feel like sometimes now we're getting more pigeonholed into doing that more than the content itself? Like, what's your overall thought process when it comes to the social media aspect?
I think it has helped tremendously in this industry. Uh, and here's why. In the 80s and 90s, and even in the early 2000s, stuff like that, we didn't have, Twitter or X or, which is really the biggest sounding board, honestly. Uh, so the girls, if you ran into a bad producer or a bad uh, agent or a bad, male, talent, you told the other girls, but that was about it. And the word had to get a word was slow traveling. Now you have a platform to be able to sound off on. If if a male talent treats a female talent wrong, or doesn't uh, abide by her no lists, or her no's, that she's talked about, before we do the scene. Now she has an avenue to call him out. So it weeded out a lot of maybe guys that could perform, but really didn't care about the girls, to a
Mhm.
degree. And they got called out. So that they now all of a sudden a bunch of girls are like, I don't want to work with that guy then. And uh, so now they're not in the industry anymore. You know, uh, so and then the same thing happened with producers, directors. Uh, you know, there's no shady stuff anymore at all, because if there is, they can be called out, and the world will see it. So now that keeps everybody in line and weeded out the bad ones. So it cleaned the industry up a lot, and I'm thankful for that. Yeah,
Mhm. No, I mean, I still think there's a lot of bad ones still left in here.
there
But
are just a lot more slick about it,
mhm,
and probably a lot more, I don't want to say selective about who they target, unfortunately.
yeah,
But
because I could tell you just in this past week, the amount of unprofessional emails I've received is just like, yeah, y'all are insane. Just insane. But it, like you said, you can't have all this good and no bad because that's just not reality. I'm gonna do something with you, pause, that I haven't done with anybody else this season. I feel like it's a good time. I'm gonna do a rapid fire. All right.
okay,
Try not to think too much into this. Let's see how this works. Favorite type of scene to film?
uh, I like older guy, younger girl, and I like milfs better, but I like older guy, younger girl, softly lit, and a little bit more passionate, scene.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
like in my own personal life, I prefer milfs, but those scenes are just go off so well. So
Got you. Dream collab, past or present?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Dream collab, past or present?
Past.
Okay. Biggest turn on set.
Uh, a girl who's enthusiastic. Yeah, if she's really into it, and she really,
Mhm.
you can tell she wants to be there. She really likes it. She's engaging. Oh man, yeah. When it comes time for the finish, won't be difficult. Won't be difficult at all.
One thing you'd change about the adult industry.
Pay discrepancy between the men and the women. Really. I mean, we get paid half of what the girls get paid, so we work twice as much. But I had let's just say I had somebody tell me one time that the male performers are just life support systems for their dicks. That was told that on set one time. And I was filling out the paperwork and I set the pen down and I almost stood up and went, okay, cool. Try doing this without me. If that's how you feel, if that's what you think, try doing it without me. But the only reason that I stayed there is because the girl that I was shooting with happened to be a friend of mine, and I didn't want to do that to her. But after we did the scene like that, I went back to my agent. And I was like, I'm not working for that person ever again. That don't.
Gotcha.
Nope. No. If that's how you feel, if that's what you think, then we have different
Have at
philosophies.
it.
So
Right.
yeah, we'll just agree to disagree on that.
Right. Stepdad motto in one sentence.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Stepdad motto in one
That
sentence.
motto. Uh, give them your best. I want to give my best in every performance, that I do. Yeah, just give them my best.
All right. Last one. Favorite quote or advice to live by?
So my very first agent that I ever had from East Coast Talent, John, he told me that the only certain thing in this business is uncertainty. And he was right. He was absolutely right. I can't tell you how many times I showed up on set, something wasn't right, something didn't happen good like that. And they're like, okay, well, we're not shooting today. Yeah, go home. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in this business.
No, it is. Are they going to show up today? Are they not going to show up today? Yeah. Last question before we get out of here. What role does mental health play in being the consistent and confident?
As far as a guy goes, it's good. The girls too, honestly, but
Yeah.
it's everything for a guy because it all happens up here for guys. So if you're overly nervous, or if the girl has really rubbed you the wrong way, for whatever reason or somehow, you're not going to be able to perform. You're not going to be able to give that good performance that you need to give. Uh, Fans can tell when you have a real connection with somebody, and and it shows through on the camera, and it shows through on the video. And man, when that happens, it's just you walk away from it going, yeah, that's going to be a good one. That is going to
Right.
be a good one. That's why I like working with people more than once. If the person's really good, they're really cool, and they got a good attitude, and they're happy to be there. Those are girls I want to work with because I know that we're going to put out just a fire video, and it's I'm going to have fans all in my Twitter, telling me what a great video that was, and that makes me proud that they recognize that.
Yeah. No, it speaks to one's craft. I feel like that's another thing. Going back to your porn, star question. Your craft, studying your craft, perfecting it, advancing it, evolving it. I feel like so many people get pigeonholed into sex, and that's all that they see, that they don't see anything else as far as their own development into being the best porn star, aka that they want to be. You know what I mean? Like, I think just calling yourself whatever, just like me, yeah, fuck all the camera equipment and the lighting and all that. Fuck all that. But if I didn't study my craft and I didn't try to learn something new or try to push the envelopes or try to develop my own styles and stuff like that, I don't feel like I could call myself a photographer or videographer, right? I feel like that's one of those key elements that I think is missing. They think sex is just I have to give bomb ass head and I have to have a wet ass pussy or a big dick to be considered a star, and I think there's more to it than just that.
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, you never stop learning in this business. Like I said, I've done close to 400 scenes, and inevitably, I'll show up occasionally, and I'll learn something, and I love those days because every or I'll figure something out about my body that makes it easier. So
Mhm.
I know the adult film performer that I was 5 years ago. I am so totally different now, and it kind of makes me wonder. I'm like, man, I can't believe I lasted this long to be able to, But obviously, there's guys like Levi Cash, who I had a couple real nice, good heart to hearts with, about with him, just asking him, what do I need to do? Because he was so successful as an actor, and now so successful as a producer, and that I want to pick his brain. I want to find out, some of the directors, and talk to them, and just at the end of the scene, hey man, what can I do to be better? And they'll tell you, and
No, they will.
you implement those things, and you'll get so much better, so much faster. Instead of getting yelled at on set for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So learning
So
that
what's
way.
next? What's next for Peter Fitzwell?
Uh, I really, it's so old, people. I really want to buy an RV and do some traveling. I really do, and that is so, because first of all, I love spending time. Like we go to, maybe some, weekend getaways and stuff like that, and, to Atlanta or something like that. A lot of people will get in a car and, or will get in a plane and fly to Atlanta. And I'm like, I love driving. You know, Naomi and I just, we just talk, and, I love spending time with her. So being confined in a car or something like that, or being confined in an RV and driving around and seeing the country, hitting up, doing collabs, stuff like that along the way, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And, you know, we're we're buying an RV here very soon,
Okay. Okay.
and when that happens, we're gonna just take it on tour, just drive around, collab with all these people that you see on Twitter,
Yeah.
and then just see the country. Really, just enjoy life. We've already done some traveling over, like, Thailand and Vietnam, and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
just making those memories that you'll have forever.
Oh my. All right. So this is your time to talk your stuff. Where can fans find you, your content? This is your moment to shine.
All right. So definitely on Twitter at the Lucky Stepdad. Also on Twitter, Cheating Wife POV. Very successful series that I do. Uh, we have a OnlyFans management company, so you could hit me up on there. We have a lot, very, very heavy technology based. So it's, if you struggling with the OnlyFans page, hit me up. The Lucky Stepdad. We'll straighten that out for you. Uh, Twitter's or Instagram is Peter Fitzwell 14, and just hit me up everywhere. Or check out my wife. I am Naomi Fox, 3 X's. So yeah, we're just keeping it real right now. Just shooting a bunch of scenes and just loving life, man. Like
Yeah.
I worked for 32 years in in a corporate world, and I retired, and now I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I really enjoy it. And it's not all the sex I had. I'm married to a goddess, so last thing, who never tells me no. So last thing I am is thirsty, to say the least.
Yeah.
But it's just the challenge that this represents, and the people that are just so cool. And you know, I I really enjoy this. Yeah, and I know she does too. So
Yeah. No, we're going to have her back in 2 weeks, I believe, as
That's
well. So
exciting.
we'll be able to get her side of the story too. But yes, thank everyone for tuning in. You know, this has been a wonderful, wonderful episode. Remember, go to HD Nation on YouTube. That's where you'll be able to find not only this, but also Beyond Pixel. And I know I keep saying it every week, but it's finally happening. I am putting up new content on Beyond Pixel this week. I promise you, if it doesn't happen, I'll pay everyone who says, "Hey, you promised us." I pay y'all $50. So I don't like to gamble with my own money. So it's going to happen. I promise you. Right. Also, don't forget to check me out every Saturday nights on Enlightened Idiots podcast as well. It's also on YouTube with some very unique people. I'll say that unique. And remember, everything with whatever by Hektek. You can find everything by whatever by Hektek. That's TikTok, Instagram. I don't have a Facebook again. I might start one. Twitter is the only thing that is going to be We by Hektek. We by Hektek is on Twitter. I'm so old. I still call it Twitter, X, whatever y'all want to call it.
So do I.
But yeah, right. But everything else, you can find it at whatever by Hektek. And then my personal Instagram is same name, Hektek Desires, all that stuff. And once you start going down one rabbit hole, it'll connect the dots. Now, with that being said, thank you, Peter, for being a guest on the show
My pleasure.
again,
And a bit
giving a
serious, Ed.
great perspective.
I want everybody to go after you like and after you subscribe. I want you to go down and I want you to comment and tell us, what do you think constitutes a porn star? What do you have to achieve in your career to be called a porn star?
Yeah, facts. I'm very scared of what these answers may or may not be.
I love reading them.
I am definitely terrified. But with that, like I said, you'll see those comments on HD Nation on YouTube. Keep those close that are close to you. Keep those loyal that are loyal to you, and don't do anything that you don't want to do. And with that, we are out of here.